welcome to Season 3 here at oNiD. This is our Racing League, and this season we have the oNiD4, the British oNiD4 series. Apologies. Some wonderful British circuits coming up this season, as well as a little trip over to Belgium, where we will be finishing the season off at Spa. Great season to come, and joining me, as always, someone who thought it was a great idea to put their car into first at 285 kilometers an hour yesterday. It's Aidan Hard. Bear with us a moment. Aidan is just fixing their sound before they've.
I'm here.
At least Aidan is here, and they haven't done a whole monologue without you being able to hear them, like someone might have done yesterday.
I
was the one that did that yesterday.
Oh, no, it's fine. Yeah, it's just you. It's good. No, I'm joking. That sounded horrible.
We both had our moments yesterday.
We've had our moments. Me inadvertently finding neutral at about 280 kilometers an hour and blowing the engine, and you not catching the stream. It's fine. We're here. We're at Donny. Oh, good old Donnington Park. Not too far from my wonderful hometown of Derby, and it's brilliant to see us on iRacing, the British oNiD4 series of these amazing open wheel cars. 8 weeks worth of racing here for oNiD, and what a way to start it off. Donnington Park racing circuit on the national layout. The final chicane playing host to the final 10, still going down to the Melbourne loop. Qualifying is currently underway and cars are out on circuit. 29 entries. What a fantastic, fully signed up season for this first week of iRacing, and wow, cannot wait to get racing underway for this. At the moment, it is the cars out on a circuit at the moment. We're going to try and bring in as much as we can. The timing tower will be shortened quite considerably, as we'll try and keep an eye on everyone on the circuit. But for now, pole sitter at the minute, Jack Dan, 1 minute 5.231. A very, very good lap there as he sets the pole time as it stands. Not too far behind is Klozak, Cleaver, Carter, and tightly packed in that field, aren't they? All the way down from third down to 8th. Brilliant. It's wonderful to see.
Yeah, and it's worth mentioning, not only do we have a pretty full grid for this season, slight change to how we're doing qualifying. It's not a private session. You're not by yourself on track. You have to worry about everyone else. Maybe it could be a little bit helpful, grabbing a bit of slipstream at the opportune moment, but it does seem already seeing some gravel being thrown around the track. Some cars are coming out of pit lane, just having to wait for cars to pass on the racing line, and it is quite a short track as we see another car going off, spinning out of T1. Drivers struggling to get to grips, or struggling to at least push these cars, these single-seaters, to their limits. Here was Mac Barnes, we've seen, or just running a little bit wide, didn't quite see this one, but managing to keep the car pointing in the right direction at least. Something that a few others have struggled with, but yes, very close. Aiden Carter now getting themselves up to P2, just a 10th off of Jack Dan at the front. But yes, there's so much going on in the short lap, gonna be difficult to keep up with all the times, with Dan Tomlinson now going up to P7.
Times are a-tumbling, and we'll keep an eye on who's doing what as they go through this race session. We'll stand on the... Oh, not stand on. That's a completely wrong word. We'll stay on the car of Philip Stepper. Oh, kind of maybe just got compromised there a little bit into the final turn. Will potentially just return to the pits and try and get another lap in, or is he going to wait for a gap? There's in the real life there is an escape road. I don't think it's actually currently there on the circuit, but he'll wait and go. Ben 22 Racing, thank you. Good evening, Ben. Thank you for your 22-month streak. I think I just saw that was fantastic stuff. As they've got a change up at the front, Aiden Carter, pole position, 105.1, edging closer to that 1 minute 4. We'll see if you can improve. Who else is about to finish a lap? We'll go to Jack Dan and P2 going down the Dunlop Straight. We'll go down into the final letters, and that'll be race. That'll be the final corner of this race and final corner of his lap. He's currently looks to be improved. Well, there's a lot of gravel on the inside, however. I've got to be careful of that. It doesn't improve as he comes to the line. Maybe he will. We'll just see. It does improve. 105.000. Another 10th found. And Aidan Carter will have to find that gap a little bit more and have to find that a little bit more time. John Lloyd also just about to come to the line too. So many cars to keep track of. The only car not to set a lap yet is Sean McCardle down in 29th. Not let set a lap time. The timing's out. Almost filling the whole left side of our screen. It's amazing.
Yeah, Mike Reiner getting themselves up to 7th place, just 1,000th behind Order Grin, who themselves improves up to P3 now, by a quarter second off the top time. Who will be the first to get a sub 65-second lap time? Matt Cleaver now poking up to P5. We see Ben Holmes in the oNiD delivery coming through the Roberts chicane up to the line. Can they improve from P16?
They can.
And it's up just into the top 10 now, as the field's still incredibly tightly packed. We've got 19 cars currently within a second of our provisional pole sitter. Can we maybe see a few more? As mentioned, still one driver said time, but drivers still sort of struggling. Still seeing drivers coming in and out of the pits as make mistakes, maybe ruin their tires. But Tofson now improving a little bit. Down in 20th though. Maybe they'll be hoping to try and get a little further up the grid. But and Ashel now up to P12.
He does. Good luck from him. Let's see who else is finishing. That Philip Staples is about to finish up. That must be a contender for favourite livery of the round so far, maybe potentially the season. We do encourage custom liveries. You want to use one. Trading Paints is the place to be. Get onto Trading Paints and have a look and upload your liveries so we can see them all in their glory here on season 3 of this oNiD iRacing Championship. Fantastic turnout by all, and it looks like it's going to be an absolutely immense race. Just under 5 minutes to go. As I was about to give you a quick rundown of the field, Jack Dan looks to have just set a new lap time, 105.026, a few thousandths of a second quicker than what he previously did. He goes back to the pits. Oliver Stone taking up P2, Aidan Carter P3. Aidan is actually about to finish a lap, is he? Let's have a look. He is indeed. Oh, that's a big moment. He dives to the pits, so that's going to be a pit lane reset, essentially, as we see Matt Cleaver. Oh, was that Autogren jumping up to P4? That was right. That was Rayner P5, should I say?
And John Lloyd into 7th. Ashhill into the top 10, bumping out Dan Tomlinson. Ben Brown just missing out into P11 as Sean McGardle has got a lap time. So we see a lap time from all 29 drivers who are here tonight, 20 within a second of the provisional pole. Can we see a couple more drivers sneak in, or will Jack Dan push the boat further out, get into the sub 65s? And drop a few drivers out of that second range. We'll have to see. Stone getting a lap in, but not improving. Was just thousandths slower, about 4 or 6 thousandths slower than their previous best. It shows you how close it is. I've got a car spun on the exit of McLean's.
That's Ben Holmes, I believe it was actually. Let's see if it was. It wasn't, but. Another oNiD car had another spin. That was Aaron one potentially. Let's see if he. Yes, it was the red and black car. Sophie Aaron. Apologies if I am saying that completely incorrectly, but decides to do a pirouette going out of McLean's. So I'll be up to Coppice. That she'll. I think it's she. Sophie, I do apologise if not, and there's a load of cars elected to do the same thing in the background and turn themselves into temporary lawnmowers. Those front wings are going to be sharp by the time they come through the grass. But Jack Dan still leading, only about 3 minutes to go. It is then Stone who's just set another lap, 0.071, sorry, 0.070 should I say, slower than the pole sitter. We see another car having a spin. That was a car of, I think that was Oh, so many cars to keep track of. It's insane. It's wonderful to see, but goodness gracious me, it's going to be a tightly packed race. 29 cars as well. It's going to be a fun evening, let's say.
It really is. You look at some of the gaps between individual drivers, they are just thousands in places. 1,000 between Batofson and Grant Lloyd for 22nd, 23rd. Will we see maybe some more of that throughout the field? Potentially, but qualifying is getting closer to the end now. Only 2 minutes left in the session. A few more laps for the drivers if they still have the tires underneath them to go quickly. Ben Holmes does puts themselves into the top 10, displacing Ash Hill. But yeah, very tight up and down the pack wherever you look, within especially the top 24, covered by 1.2 seconds. Any little improvement you can make, basically guaranteed to gain a position.
Yep, absolutely. It's going to be interesting to see. It's so tightly packed between everyone. It's going to end up a fantastic race, I'm sure. 29 cars. Well, how Donny's McLeaver decides to take to the gravel pit. Let's see where the fastest guy's doing. Go to Ollie Stone, who's actually coming up to Matt and rejoining through Hoppe. So go down a old Dunlop Straight. A bridge used to be across here, big Dunlop Bridge. If those old enough to remember that at Donnington, hence why it's got the Dunlop Straight when it goes down to the final chicane, the S's. And oh, that's going to be an invalid lap. Oh, it's a car spinning ahead. That's contact.
Yeah, just Zill bounced off the apex curb on the left-hander and ran onto the grass, and then met a unfortunately spun car. Quite a few people pushing the limits and spinning because of it. Sean McArdle completing another lap, not improving this time round. They'll have one more attempt, but starting to see some people head to pit lane, which will be nice for those that are still out. Give them a little bit more space, make the track a little less busy. Aidan Card on a, or in card, Aidan Carter managed to intertwine hard, and Carter, as John Lloyd goes up to P4, but Carter, just a couple of corners to go, coming down the Dunlop Straight, has to pick their breaking point as time runs out on the qualifying session, and seems drivers not actually being able to finish their laps in this instance. So this will be our final starting order.
Your grid for race one, and quite a few cars to go through. It'll be a standing start. It is Jack Dan pole and Stone second, Carter third, Lloyd fourth, Ottergren fifth, Rayner sixth, High seventh, Tomlinson eighth, McCleaver ninth, Trozak 10th, Holmes 11th, Hill in 12th. There it goes to Brown 13th, Staples 14th. That's fantastic. Thank you very much for that follow. And Macadalic 01, I think I said that right. Staples 14th, Tempera 15th, Mason 16th, Aaron Wen 17th, Monroe 18th, Morgan 19th, Ricardo 20th, Bottleston 21st, Barnes 22nd, Lloyd 23rd, Tarrant 24th, and we go down to 25th is Collins, Ashford 26th, Turner 27th, Page 28th, and Williams 29th. Oh boy, this is going to be a absolute stormer of a first round.
Let's just hope everyone gets away cleanly off the line. It's been a little while since we've done a standing start here on iRacing. It's been rolling starts for both seasons so far. Though I suppose we have a standing start last week for the social at Magello.
Yes, we did actually. That's a very good point. The social one-off that we had. So they'll have, most drivers will have getting compressed, but look at the cars lining up. It's amazing. Right, all cars are now on the track. We go racing for the first race this evening. As all 6 lights are on the screen, we await, and they are going away, and everyone looks to get away reasonably well. A couple of cars not starting at the back of the field, so they're going to go jump down the order ever so slightly as everyone looks to get away reasonably cleanly, and leaders go into its contact over in the background, and there's a spinning car going off on the inside. There's contact with multiple cars. Not quite sure who that was, but it looks like Monroe potentially was collected there. Luca going down the order from the midfield. We'll go see what's happened and we'll get some replays after the first lap. The leaders, however, are away and are getting away reasonably well up into garage, should I say. I dare say we've had a bit of a hectic turn one, but a reasonably clear start for this 35-minute race.
Yeah, things spreading out from that car getting spun in the middle of the track. I think it might have been Dan Tomlinson as they've returned to the pit lane. It's been a decent start, trying to down the order. It's been a good start from Lewis Mason, up 6 places into the top 10. So they've certainly got away well. But the front 3 all in the same positions. John Lloyd dropping back 4 places from 4th on the grid. They'll be a little bit disappointed with that. Ben Holmes coming into the pits, most likely to repair damage from that opening lap, but still nose to tail for pretty much the entire top 13, all within a second of each other. Stone closing up on Jack Dan, not opting for a move yet as they go through the old hairpin, using all of the curb on the exit. You can see the track limit marks coming up, and Ashhill dropping down a couple of positions, has returned to pit lane. So likely a crash for Ashhill, unfortunately. That might have led them out of the race.
Let's have a look back to the start of the race. We'll see what happened. It's Matt Cleaver that got caught up in his. There's a touch there with another black and white car, car 13. I do think that is. If you look, there's contact. Around goes one of the oNiD branded cars. I believe that potentially was Dan Tomlinson. We'll see from that start. And indeed, a bit of a shuffle out for car 34 and car 13. And contact, around he goes. I think potentially a bit of a passenger, collects the 13 for good measure, and then it's just a bit of running roadblock. Thankfully, most cars are able to avoid them at the start, but that's terminal damage. I can tell you has automatically returned to the pit lane with that damage.
Yeah, that rear left tire hanging on by the tether, not exactly ideal. So the field once more, sort of top 4, starting to pull a little way from Matt High, who has a good start, a couple of positions for them. Also good start for Ben Brown, up 5 places from 13th. So drivers have avoided the opening lap carnage, getting away cleanly, but quite a few drivers coming through pit lane to most likely repair damage. There are no mandatory pit stops for the series. All drivers will have a quick repair. So we see Matt Cleaver pulling away from what seems to be a spin at Coppice. Let's get a replay here into the right-hander, just loses the rear end, turning in for the corner over the crest and stuck on the outside, having to wait for a gap in the traffic, which luckily for them there was not too long after, but has dropped them down to 14th. Having qualified P9, is going to be a bit disappointed, and that's Lewis Mason into the wall coming out of the Roberts chicane. Luckily, doesn't seem to have too much damage. Will carry on in 18th place.
Did you will see what happened with Lewis here? I think it was a little bit by himself, to be perfectly honest. Goes down to final chicane, a bit late on the brakes potentially. Goes in. Oh, that's sausage. That's the curb.
Yeah, those curbs are quite big. I noticed from one of the static cameras towards the start of qualifying, they're massive, and yeah, you really want to be avoiding them. But we cut to a battle here, and that's Sophie getting a big snap through Coppice, spinning off into the gravel, having got themselves up to P9, which was very good from where they started in 17th, but it's dropping back down the order, making sure to rejoin safely. It's going to try and stay in front of this pack that's currently led by Luca Monroe. Gets to the inside to teammates, it seems, judging by the liveries, but you see the rear end just sort of starting to snap around. We've seen a lot of drivers struggling with that already in qualifying, and is unfortunately caught Sophie out here today in the race now, but they're on the back of their supposed teammate, judging by liveries, as said, trying to get past Luca Monroe. Will there sort of be any friendly sort of maybe I'll let you go if you're quicker, or will the United Sim team teammates fight it out tooth and nail as closely as we've seen some of the TSRC drivers do in the last couple of seasons?
Another team racing with oNiD on a Thursday night. It's wonderful to see. And oh no, that's not good. That's not how you slow the car down going into McLean's, and that's going to be a bit of a salt to the wound kind of situation there for Sophie. That's such a shame. Having a spin out of the corner he's going through now, and then on the previous lap, and then finding themselves spinning on the previous corner on the next lap.
Stone is going for the lead from Jack Dan, and they have taken it out of Redgate, now down towards the Old Hairpin. They lead the way, but Jack Dan is right on their tails. Carter, Aiden, they're still right on the tail of this battle. Ortegren's starting to drop back a few car lengths, but it sort of seems like the slipstream just helping to keep the drivers all nip and tuck at the moment as they come through Coppice now, seeing slightly different lines from the drivers. Maybe try and get a little bit of cleaner over the wings, get a little bit more downforce, help the stability of the car, and then slot back into the slipstream for the straights through the chicane here, going around the sausage curbs as you would expect. And they'll go on for another lap. Now, how long can Stone lead? Can they go for the remaining 28 minutes to the checkered flag? Or will Jack Dan be able to retake lead? Or can Aiden Carter get past both of them and take the lead for themselves?
Certainly going to try, and the top three battles enabling Ortegren high, 4th and 5th respectively, and not that far behind. That might be turning a bit of a 5-way battle for the lead, which will be interesting to see as we see a pit stop, and I said not compulsory pit stops, but Sophie Ehrenwen sadly coming into the pit lane. That's a quick repair if I've seen one. Stops in the pit box and immediately gets going again. We do have a fast repair, one fast repair I do believe for the session, and I would believe most drivers that have had to make a pit stop would have been using that to good effect. Rejoins in 19th with Klodzik in 20th right behind.
It should also be mentioned, we haven't talked about this, is we are running fixed setup for this season. So maybe some drivers struggling with it a little more than others, not quite having the car balance that they would ideally like. But Sophie now trying to defend from Krokzek for 19th place, having made that pit stop, looking to the inside. Sophie has to leave the room there, and Krokzek gets the move done for 19th place, and will now try and look to catch Page up in 18th. Good 8-second gap though. Those drivers have had issues throughout the race, a little bit more spread out. Ben Brown, while we were watching that, made the move for P6. Now that's up 7 places so far this race for the oNiD admin. And yeah, making a good race so far. 5.5 seconds up to Matt time might be a bit of a tall ask for Ben to get to the top 5. But I'm sure with where they qualified, they'll be quite happy if they can hold on to the P6 here. Though it's with the slipstream, I doubt Mike Rayner is going to be making that too easy.
No, absolutely. Well, it now stays put as I think we've had an incident for Bottlesford down in 22nd. What's happened? Oh, they are off in turn 1, and they now have lapping traffic trying to get past. However, we actually jump back up to the lead. They've just gone past. Jack Dan looked to be mighty close, ever so slightly down through the S's. Not making a move past the leader Stone as it stands, but
having a look here, looking to the inside, going to McLean's, gets the car alongside, but carrying the momentum around the outside. Stone holding on for now. A move into Coppice. No, Jack Dan will try another time. A couple of laps ago, Stone set a new fastest lap of the race. Seems to be sort of stretching their legs and improved the gap once more last lap. But Dan is coming back this lap using the slipstream and attacking. Nearly got alongside coming into Roberts, but maybe just being a little bit patient. Dan probably knows if they fight too much, they will bring more cars like Aiden behind into this, but goes for a move to the inside of T1. Clean as you like, gets it done. Stone thinks by trying to hold it around the outside, but has to take to the grass to avoid any contact. Carter looking for an opportunity to try and take P2 here. Just getting a bit of cleaner on the wing as they head towards the old hairpin, but ultimately not able to get any positions this time round. Jar Page has had an issue from 18th and is dropping down the order, promoting Krajek and Sophie up a place each. So we'll have to see as our leaders navigating a bit of traffic. The short lap, of course, and those cars having issues from Dan Tomlinson being spun at the start means that, we're seeing lap traffic much sooner than you'd normally expect. Stone again looks to be closing in on Dan, thinking about trying to retake the lead.
Indeed, tries to, but thinks better of it, however. Oh, it might be a car's width there in the inside line. That's put a couple of wheels on the grass.
Is a bad exit from Dan out of the chicane, was just too deep into the first part of the chicane, compromised their line. Stone really wanted the inside line for Redgate, daring to put two wheels onto the grass, and the drivers now run side by side down the corner curbs towards the old hairpin. Carter in the background looking for any space that might become available, and Stone is back into the lead as we had a car off there in the gravel at the old hairpin. I think that might have been Williams, but trying to come back to the inside. Jack Dan, not quite the space to make the move this lap. Has to be wary about Aiden, but looks certainly putting the pressure on Stone again as they've swapped places. And there is Terry Williams missing their rear wing, having had big instant and quite a bit of suspension damage. Seems like they're going to pull over and return to, or tow to the pits, I should say. Now through the Roberts chicane one more time. Another car, that car's pulling off, making sure not to get too involved, going defensive, and it'll have to be the outside for Jack Dan if they want to try and retake the lead. They get themselves in front, squeezing Stone to the apex. Looks like they'll get the move done here, but they're still slightly side by side, round the lap car, and they have to back out. Stone has to back out. Now lies Carter into second place into the old hairpin. Carter is now going to be the one fighting Jack Dan to try and take the lead.
Traffic, we said it's a short circuit, the 29 cars, and traffic showing that it is proving to be the case. That's gone from bad to worse. Stone there got hung up behind a back marker going through those craner curves, couldn't do anything about it, had to back out, and allows Dan through to the lead, but also Carter up into second. Tempera having an issue, dropping a couple of positions. Let's have a look at what happened to him. He's going to go up through into McLean's. Goes wide, he does, and just leaves the circuit and allows a couple of cars to go through.
Yeah, you could just tell wide of the apex are off the racing line, and we'll drop those couple of spots, but is right on the tail, could regain them. We've seen the fighting at the front. So we can very much see fighting just like that throughout the field. Another thing it's worth mentioning is we do have a second race coming up. It is reverse grid, top 15 reverse grid. So you want to make sure you're in that top 15 if you can. So currently Mac Barnes is on provisional pole for our sprint race. That'll be 25 minutes as we have fighting for the top 10. Matt Cleaver and Sean McGardle, regulars for us here at oNiD on the iRacing side. Matt Cleaver getting the better of Sean McGardle here and takes P10 and maybe second place within the AM Championship. Again, another thing we should mention, AM and Pro Championships, with how many cars there is, it's a little bit confusing to see who's in what, but the drivers will maybe have an eye, but we know there are some drivers who don't worry too much about the classes. It doesn't matter who they're fighting for, whether it's for class position or not. They just want to fight. As Aiden Carter now setting fastest lap of the race as they go try chasing after Jack Dan a little bit wide through Redgate, and it's an opportunity here for Carter. It's going to be the right-hand side, outside through the corner curves, but could be the inside for the old hairpin. Do they commit to the move? They're looking, but they're not far enough alongside. They'll have to back out through the corner. That could give Stone an opportunity here as Reiner's dropping it down a couple of places from P7 to P9. Looking now to the outside is Carter at McLean's, trying to get better exit slightly wide for Dan onto the grass, and that gives Carter an opportunity. A little lag moment doesn't help here. Dan leaves Carter the room, and Stone is now catching up, though Carter doesn't have the momentum through Coppice to keep the challenge on down the Dunlop straight into Roberts' chicane. Now it's all about getting a good exit here. Can see slightly better exit, I would say, from Carter, just holding a slightly tighter line. But seems like Dan just has enough of a gap to hold on into Redgate this time. Stone dropping it back a little bit through the chicane that time as they've got a lapped car, kind of putting pressure on them, who seems to be wanting to get a move on.
Dan Tomlinson down in 25th. Thinking, I'm actually quicker than these guys right now. They're fighting away. I want to get back past. You can unlap yourself. There is a rule on it that says if you are quicker, and legitimately quicker than a car ahead of you, and you have the pace to unlap yourself, then by all means do so. But this is the top 3 battle. I do not think you would want to be that person that disrupts or hampers the top 3 fighting away. They are now starting to pull away a little bit again, but in a bit of a precarious position. He has a slide, gathers it up, going through Coppice.
Yeah, of course, Dan spun at start, having qualified P8 is going to be very disappointed, but will have potential to make up something with the reverse grid. Won't be within the reverse grid itself, but the race will still provide opportunities for them to regain some places, regain some points. Stone setting a new fastest lap of the race as they look to close the gap back up again, having dropped back at the end of the previous lap. But we're currently on board with Philip Staples and into the side of Sean McGardle, who loses the car through the Roberts chicane. Unfortunately, Staples not able to avoid that with how closely they were running straight into the pits for both drivers to use that quick repair. Was that speeding into the pit lane for Sean McGardle? They came in locked up. That could be an extra penalty. See how quick that fast repair is. Staples on their way. Now is Sean McGardle. And Stone has got the move on Carter for P to retake P2 coming out of McLean's.
Definitely not commentator's curse. They're following on board with Staples and Sean, but hey ho. Now I'll go to the pits and use that quick repair and get back out it, I'm sure. Now the field has now relatively spread out. There's good decent gaps between most of the drivers, and battle for 7th and 8th, and this top 3 battle is the closest we have at the moment. We'll stick with the top 3 as Aiden's dropped position. Aiden Carter getting passed by Stone there, and so let's see if we can find the pass. Yeah, let's have a look. I do believe it was... Oh, that was the previous one. There was another move later on.
This is when Ian Carter was looking for the lead on Jack Dan, and Ian Carter running wide, sort of following Dan running wide as well, but just went that little bit wider and not running wide. Stone able to pick up the position and is now challenging for the lead once again, having taken the fastest lap. Has a bit of a run here towards the chicane, but what isn't close enough, doesn't have enough momentum to get far enough alongside both cars, sliding a bit through the chicane. Jack Dan carrying more speed, pulling out a little bit of a gap, and Aiden Carter closing up in the behind Stone. Is Aiden gonna be close enough for a move into T1? No, not quite close enough. Doesn't go for a move as Jack Dan sets a personal best, trying to hold on to the lead. John Lloyd now dropping down a couple of places from P7. That's sort of P7 to P9. All 3 of those drivers have made mistakes and just shuffled themselves to the back of that 3-car group.
Let's see what happened with John. And this is himself again. Curb? Too much curb? Or too much throttle? Too much throttle! And a bit of too much curb as well, potentially. Floors the throttle on exit, keeps it out the barrier, and will rejoin it to fight another day. Battle for 15th and 16th, however, as 40th and 50th, should I say, as Staples looks to be recovering, trying to get past Lewis Mason.
Yes, Staples now on provisional pole for the sprint race, but we'd like to score a few more points this race. They're trying to do that by passing Lewis Mason, as you say. John Lloyd having another issue, dropping down positions. Now down to P10. Luckily, the gap opening up enough that they don't lose anymore. Down the inside for Staples. Easy, clean move.
Brilliant.
And up to P14. Now 8 seconds to Mac Barney's. At least for this Mason, they're still within that reverse grid, and as things stand, they'll be on pole position for it.
Yep, absolutely. We said about Sean McCardle potentially having a little bit of an issue. We'll see what he's doing down in 16th. Goes wide. I think that just triggered a bit of an off-track alert there. Nothing horribly wrong, but timing tower and timing up, noticing that he had a bit of a moment. What are the leaders doing as they come down into the final chicane? Now there is a back marker ahead of them. That will potentially cause a little bit of issues. It's the 714 car of Erwin, who gets out of the way very promptly and allows these guys to continue racing through to turn 1. They're split equally by about 0.3 of a second as it stands. It's been potentially the farthest apart they've been for a while, going through into turn 1, and that's saying something. However, Stone gets a very good run down through the crane of curves into the old hairpin. They all use a suitable amount of curb, not going too wide, losing speed up through Starkey's bridge, up into McLean's now. Not going to be able to do anything there. Morgan's dropped a position as well. Something's happened with Morgan. We'll touch base with that in a moment, as they've dropped down to 12th. Autogrid's also had a moment a bit further back from this as well, as it just pinged up on my screen. But we'll stick with this race lead going into Dunlop Straight, and this is going to be a move into the final chicane. It's brave to do so. Nope. Stone thinks better of it. He thinks I'll hang back, get a better run through the final chicane and try and make a move. But Jack actually gets a good run as well. So that's going to not help Stone make these sorts of moves into turn 1. They remain its status quo.
Stone seems to be struggling to make the most of the Roberts chicane. They always seem to lose a car length or two, a tenth or two through there, and just means they're not close enough usually to make a move to Redgate or finding themselves under pressure. They've opened the gap up a little bit more to Carter again. Those few car lengths, which just gives them a little bit of breathing room, that they know if they even just look for a move into to try and pass Jack Dan, they're not going to be, Aidan Carter isn't going to be throwing the nose down the inside or around the outside. They have that little bit of breathing space. The question for Stone is, when do they want to make the move? Do they want to do it as soon as they can when the best opportunity, like maybe this, shows, or do they want to wait later in the race, give
there's your answer.
Dan less time to respond? But they've gone for the move into the chicane, but gets onto the curb. You could see the wheel bouncing up onto it, gives them a poor exit, and Dan is going to try and come back past. Aidan is also thinking, can they maybe follow through to the outside for Jack Dan, trying to retake lead. Go swoop around, squeeze Stone to the apex, but Stone actually picks up good grip on the apex and holds on to lead for now. And Aidan Carter right on the back of the pair of them here, looking for an opportunity, but Dan with the run to the Old Harpin, but Old Harpin, very difficult place to make a move using all of the curb and some of the grass. You can see why they've put a concrete patch there on the outside for that curb in modern times. But through McLean's now, another part where
Aidan.
they used maybe a bit too much there for Aidan, as you say. But coming to Dunlop Straight again, will Jack Dan respond in a similar manner to how Stone initiated the move last lap? Looks like he's looking to the inside. Will they commit? They're trying to, but Stone's going to try and hold it the long way round. Side by side through the chicane. Very awkward, very dangerous, but somehow they come out side by side, and Ian Carr's trying to make it 3 wide. Dan holds the door shut, and so Ian Carr's just going to have to try and fight Stone off. He's going to try and hold it round the outside. It didn't work for Dan last lap. Doesn't work for Stone, but yeah, as you say, per run from Dan, that's going to hold Carter up and allow Stone to take second place, and they're going to get alongside for the lead. It'll be the outside of the Old Harpin. Very brave move here, but can they get it done? The space is left, and it looks like they do have it done. Stone back to the lead, but Dan isn't giving this one up. Neither is Carter, nearly 3 wide into McLean's. They all back out into single file. Stone leading the way now ahead of Dan. Carter still in third, looking every which way they can to try and get themselves up to second place, but it's not quite working out for them just yet.
Oh my god, this is the only battle on circuit that stands with about 10 minutes to go, and this is probably going to enthrall us right into the end of the race so they can keep it clean. This trading position, I think Aidan, I would be, certainly as well. my twin, better race car driver, twin that is, is gonna be so frustrated in that car trying to get past. It keeps on getting blocked off, and that's always multiple contact onto the entrance of turn one between Stone and Dan. That is dangerous. That was a bit of a weave into one another, but I think they get away with it. Aiden's, as I said, I'm about to make my point, and I think my point is about to be illustrated here as well. Aiden gains on these guys. As soon as they start fighting, he can't do anything about it. He gets stuck, he gets blocked in. He's trying to make moves to the lead. I genuinely think he wants to lead and I think he can take it. These guys need to sort their squabble first.
To the outside, Dan is looking for McLean's, trying to throw it round there, just about does. Will they have the momentum on the exit using bit of grass? They do indeed. They now retake the lead. Stone demoted to second. Carter still there in third, as you say, just hasn't got the run at the right time. We see Morgan on timing screen dropping down to 15th with a 119.5 last lap. That's a good 14 seconds slower than normal. So very per lap for them there, as we see a car in the background having issues. I think that might have been Collins dropping a place to Sophie. Well,
we'll see what happens with Morgan first of all, as he goes down into the final chicane. And too much curb. That'll do it.
Hit the first curb on the right hand side in very awkward place to park.
Good
Pulls
stuff.
the car off as soon as it's safe to do so. But yeah, just hit the first curb on the right hand side, bounce them wide into the second curb on the left hand side. That gives them all their trouble. Side by side again for the lead. To the outside is Dan. They're trying to do the same again. Will it work again this time? Carter trying to follow them through. It's not going to work out for Carter, but Dan holds on to the lead. This fight getting more and more intense. Will it end in calamity, or will they keep it clean to the end? Carter trying to get a good exit with the tight line through Coppice. Doesn't have the momentum onto the straight. Into the chicane once more. All of the cars sliding wide for Dan onto the grass, but Stone maybe a little too far back to capitalize on this. In the slipstream towards Redgate isn't going to be close enough, and they all close in once more, continuing to fight for the lead. We go on board with Carter to see how they're seeing from this battle. What can they do to try and get themselves into second place? They've had many practice goes at trying to get in second. It hasn't. It came off once so far. They fell back to third, and we see Ben Holmes running wide, or sorry, not Ben Holmes running wide. That's Butolson running wide out of the battle for 22nd. Ben Holmes getting up there. Grant Lloyd in the middle there, and is getting back up to speed as Charlie Morgan arrives up on them. This is the side-by-side, just a bit too wide for Butolfson. Meets the gravel. Ben Holmes sneaks up the inside of Grant Lloyd, picking up 2 places in one corner. And I imagine we'll be quite satisfied with that. Carter, now good exit from the chicane, trying to go for second place, has got it done. I think that's actually more of a poor exit from Stone once again out of the chicane. That's allowed Carter up to second. Can they close in on Jack Dan? Time is starting to run out. A little over 6 minutes remain. Staples now has got up and passed Mac Barney's for P12 in their recovery drive. See how this move happened. They did it round the outside of McLean's. So we've seen round this track around Donnington, some corners the outside is working better, some corners the inside is. So it's not just one place you want to be on track, it depends on the corner. It's up to the drivers to figure those places out. But now Jack Dan trying to break away. Now that Carter's got into second place, trying to use sort of this opportunity to build a bit of a gap, break the slipstream. The driver's still pushing through the Roberts chicane as it becomes a little more treacherous with each lap as the tires start to wear a little bit. Stone won't be happy having fallen to second place, and will be trying to do anything they can to get back up to second place, nearly catching a lap car at the wrong moment there for Carter. Luckily, they just pull out of the way in time. And now towards Dunlop, the old Hairpin, sorry. Ian Carter really needs to try and close that gap and pick up the slipstream again, and put some pressure on Jack Dan if they want to win this race. But how much of their focus is on winning this race? How much is just holding on to P2?
I was hoping to see a bit more of an explanation as to what that poor run was from Oliver Stone, but I don't think we're going to get it. And I think Stone is now trying to get back past Aiden, and that's allowing Jack Dan in the closing 4 minutes of this first race tonight to back away, and that's a moment on exit. Aiden saves it. A little bit of a twitchy rear end upon the application of throttle, but managing to keep it pointing in the right direction. Battle for second is not over. We've also got a battle for 15th as well forming. Morgan trying to get past Lewis Mason for position. It's I think actually Mason made the move. No, he hasn't made the move. He's just defending, and I think Morgan's looked to drop back a little bit after having to try and fight away. Page getting past as well. Let's see, that was the stone dead last at the moment, sadly, as we have Turner and Williams AFK. What a livery! Great British Union Jack on that car. It's a livery, I'll give him that.
Finding a little bit of traffic, but we come back to this battle for 15th, fighting for which side of the grid they want to start on the front row. Are these two?
Now, if I was Morgan, would I think, do I want to take 40th? Do I just take pole and just sit here and be happy? Not entirely sure. There's a couple of off tracks actually for the leaders going through turn 1. And Carter now falling about 0.7 of a second behind the leader. So keep an eye on that. I'm also keeping an eye on this battle for Morgan. But Stone's actually got a good run for the old hairpin and up going through Starkey's and into words failing me. Up into McLean's now follows Coppice. That's going to be a bold move on the inside. He's going to make it work into Coppice. It's Stone. Very nice. There's a car off ahead of the leaders. That is, I believe, Bottleson finding the gravel again on exit of Coppice, but keeps it out of the barrier. We'll be able to continue for the last 2.5 minutes. And Aidan Carter is really going to be stubbing his toes a little bit and banging his head against the wall, which is he's been fighting for this lead battle, but now it seems like Stone's been the thorn in his side a little bit.
Stone got a bit of a poor exit through chicane, bit too much carb usage again, got the rear end sliding, struggling for traction, having made the move. Carter closed up, but wasn't close enough for a move. Again, they're closing up into the old hairpin, but very difficult to make a move here, as we have said, both of them running a little bit wide on the exit, picking up a track cut. But a couple of laps ago, when we were saying Carter needed to close in on Jack Dan, they set identical lap times in first and second, so that gap's staying exactly the same. But as we've been watching this battle, Morgan has got the move done for 14th on Lewis Mason. But as mentioned, this night in that pole position for next race, I'm sure they won't be too disappointed. And ball for 7th, bringing up as well as Rainer is catching up to the back of Tempera. And Ben Brown has just made a mistake. That wasn't him. That's him here going slowly. He's going to drop to P8 here. Maybe there was another car off in the gravel. Maybe there was contact between the two of them coming into Coppice through the chicane. Now we'll get this replay. Ooh. Oh, yeah. The number 7, the Union Jack liveried car without a rear wing, going slowly, parking on the apex, and that's how they lost it, spinning out of on the exit of McLean's, found the wall with the rear end of the car, and then just really needed to back out of that one as Ben Brown tried to go around the outside. But we cut back to this battle for P7. Ben, having had that instant, trying to catch back up, as we see Taran spinning off into the gravel there from 18th position. But now, can Ben Brown make up the 2 positions remaining? This could be the final lap, or we will see one more. It's going to be tight on if Jack Dan crosses the line. They do cross the line. Ben will have one more lap to try and make up the 2 places here. Stone is not done with this race yet. A fastest lap, 6/10 quicker than Jack Dan. They're going to go and try and see if they can take the lead and the win of this race on the final lap. Ben Brown, too deep into the chicane, jumps over the curbs and is going to lose a bit of time. The white flag is flying to signal the final lap of this race. The clouds are clouding over and it's within 2/10 for the lead of the race. Oliver Stone is pushing. There could be a bit of traffic that influences this race. Coming in to Coppice, Dan is going to get held up a little bit here. Lap car tries to hold to the inside, but Stone has the run. Will have the slipstream as well. Are they going to be close enough? Are they going to be brave enough for a move into the final corners? They break as late as they dare, but ultimately it's not close enough. Jack Dan, after a brilliant battle, will hold on to their pole position and win the first race of our British oNiD4 season. Stone, another fastest lap on the final lap, trying to take the win. We'll have to settle for P2. Carter rounds out the podium in P3. And we cut back to this battle for P6. Brown closing in, but Reiner trying to get the move done on Tempera. But like Stone, they haven't been able to find the gap. They'll have to sell per P7. Ben Brown, having run a great race, encountering a car without rear wing, dropping from 6th to 8th on the with a couple of laps to go.
Well, P15 has already seen a checker flag a lap down. Is this with your pole sitter for race 2, Lewis Mason? And all being well, it's going to be them, Morgan, Barnes, Staples, and Monroe, your top 5 qualified reverse grid for race 2 of this evening. Let's do it all over again, folks. It'd be amazing.
Yes. Another race, another standing start, and well, if this race wasn't chaotic enough, how about we put some of the midfield drivers at the front of the field and the quickest drivers in the midfield? It surely won't. Surely will end very well.
Well, I was hoping to get the race result. Sadly, the iRacing session decided to advance before we can get the actual standings up for you guys. So they're going to go to another warm-up, I do believe, and I think we're staying in the same server. I am not entirely sure, to be honest. Let's have a look at the iRacing UI. I'll be able to tell you. But what a race that was. It's going to be a top 15 reverse grid is going to be the interesting thing for this evening. And I do believe we are staying in the same server, and we will just await all the cars to have a warm-up, and then we'll go racing once more for top 15 reverse grid race for race 2.
Yes, so while the drivers have this 5-minute warm-up, either to take it to relax, calm themselves down after the intense race, maybe run some laps after, maybe they picked up some damage, the car was a bit of out of alignment, they decided not worth a pit stop to repair it, and they had to sort of adapt to it. Now just adapting back to the normal car conditions. Some drivers are doing laps, some relaxing. Let me just go through the full finishing order of our 29 drivers. As said, Jack Dan won the race by 0.254 in the end to Oliver Stone. Aidan Carter, we'd round out the podium ahead of Ordigrin in 4th, Matt High rounding out the top 5. Polo Temporera takes P6, holding on in front of Raynar, and Ben Brown falling down a couple of positions due to an unfortunate incident will finish P8. Matt Cleaver P9, and John Lloyd rounds out the top 10 ahead of Luca Munro. Staples in 12th, Mac Barney's 13th. Morgan on 14th, sharing the front row with our pole sitter for the upcoming race will be Lewis Mason. Sean McArdle just missing out, missed out by about 12 seconds in 16th, with Krojek in 17th. Taryn in 18th, Sophie Aronarwin, apologies for butchering that, in 19th. Ash Hill takes 20th. Collins in 21st, Ben Holmes in 22nd, Grant Lloyd 23rd. Butolfson 24th, Dan Tomlinson spun on the opening lap, will finish 25th in the end. Jar Page 26th, Ashfield 27th, Alex Turner and Williams not finishing in 28th and 29th, respectively.
Indeed, and just play a little bit of a waiting game, really, as people are just getting back onto the grid. We do have everyone still winning the race, which is wonderful. All 29 drivers still with us, which is absolutely wonderful to see. And we're just awaiting the server to end its 5-minute warm-up, and we go racing once more.
Yes, hopefully no one is spun going into T1. That would certainly help. Hopefully you can see more cars getting through without incident on lap 1, but that is a tall order with the reverse grid. But yes, we have Alchemistic Witch in chat saying they're making their debut next round. Well, we look forward to having you next round, which will be at Snetterton next. Sorry, not Snetterton. Brands Hatch next week. Round the Indy circuit. So if Donnington National isn't short enough for your liking, we've got an even shorter track for you next week. I'm sure that won't be any more chaotic. I'm sure it will be just fine. As we see some little clips here from the Magello social last week. There's someone stalling on the grid. Looks like everyone avoided. But yeah, some great racing that we've seen so far tonight, and yeah, hopefully it will continue. If you had to place your bets now, which of our top 3, Jack Dan, Oliver Stone, and Aidan Carter, which of those 3 do you think will finish highest in this sprint race?
Ooh. I want to see Aidan. I'm biased because he's the only driver, but he definitely looked to be really, really racy and wanted to get that lead. He was just struggling to do so. I think he'll potentially want to try and amend that and really get up ahead with things as they go through in this race. I think he'll be wanted to make amends to what could have been a half decent race for him. And in the previous race, 25 minutes is due here for race 2. We will go back to live images of the circuit. Indeed, we are just awaiting everyone to go to the grid, and we will just do a quick rundown of that starting order. Mason first, Morgan second, Barnes third, Staples fourth, Monroe 5th, Lloyd 6th, Cleaver 7th, Ben Brown 8th, Rayner 9th, Tempera 10th, High 11th, Autogren in 12th, and then go down to Carter in 13th, Stone 14th, Dan 15th. Your top 3 finishes from last race. It goes McArdle, Kozak, Taran, Arrowen, Hill, Collins, Holmes, Lloyd, Bottleston. And then we go down to Tomlinson, Page, Astra, Turner, and Williams. And I do believe we are about to go racing. We are. Let's quickly jump to the grid as we do see all the lights go out, and they are away. We just caught out a little bit there as the race did start, and we are away for race 2. 25 minutes. Reverse grid. Our top 15.
Staples already trying to get up into P2. Looks like it hasn't quite worked out for them on the exit of Reggae, but it seems like all of our drivers through cleanly T1 this time, which is great to see. Dan Tomlinson already trying to make up a couple of places, as well as our top 3 into the old hairpin. It's not gone as well. Matt High spinning off into the grass will drop down the order. Luckily avoids the wall. Watch the rejoin as well. Tempera also having issues running wide into the grass, having dropped back at the start. Barney's showing as probably wide out of McLean's, but Lewis Mason has held on to the lead. It's going to be Munro who's made up a couple of positions up to P2. Takes second, Morgan dropping to third, and it's 3 wide here. Ben Brown nearly getting caught in the middle. Dan already up to P6, having started 15th, and it's getting a bit chaotic. Crash in the background out of the chicane. That's a couple of cars losing their rear wing. And see as everyone sorts them out, still not getting done. That's Dan Tomlinson again running into issues on the opening lap.
Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. We're going to try and get a replay of that because that was a big shunt into the back. Let's see if I can. It was Tomlinson, wasn't it? We'll get a replay. And that was the latter. Was it Ashley Collins into the final? Here we go. And it was. Oh, I think that was just a case of two didn't go into one. And was that also Matt High also trying to get past it? I was just him getting past. There was that instant of getting caught in tyres, getting caught in one another. And I think Dan Tomlinson's actually returned back to the pits. So that will be indeed him back in the pit lane. There'll be a tow and a quick repair, so you'll have to wait till the tow time to finish and you'll get a very quick repair. But the leaders of this reverse grid going at it, that is car going into the pits. That's John Lloyd electing to go find the pit lane as the leaders still going at it. Dan up and now into second. Look at Dan making his way up the field. There's contact!
And that's Dan spinning off into the gravel on the exit of Redgate. Will get going again, but has fallen to P12. Sean McGardle just coming up on scene is maybe going to catch up here to Dan. But unfortunately for them, they were the best out of our podium finishers from last race. Already looking at getting into P2, but it has gone wrong for them. They've dropped, as said, to P13 now as Sean passes them. Carter and Stone in 7th and 8th respectively as they continue to try and fight in front. Morgan gets themselves back up to P2 as we see Alex Turner running wide into the gravel on the exit of McLean's. But replay just too tight on trying to pass Ben Brown there on the outside of T1, just not quite leaving enough space from that camera angle. And yeah, just getting clipped round. And looks like Charlie Morgan going for the lead, but spun out in similar fashion. Didn't see if there was contact this time. But Charlie Morgan now dropping down the field in a very similar manner as that car right there, Jack Dan, who has already got back past Sean McGardle, didn't even take them one lap, was just in too quickly, lost the rear end. Much like what we've seen with drivers throughout qualifying. And yeah, fighting for the win. Now outside of the top 10, Aidan Carter and Stone passed Rayner for 5th and 6th respectively. Stone just finishing the move round the outside as Rayner was trying to fight it with the inside. But we see Batolfson having an issue dropping towards the back of the field as well, unfortunately for them. But still, the top 9 all within a second of each other still. And Ben Brown now going for P3 on Matt Cleaver. And Carter has fallen into issues. They're spinning off at the chicane and they're going to join this little group. They're trying to catch back up after issues, falling down to 12th. Now here comes Morgan to make it 13th as Jack Dan sang the fastest lap of the race in their attempt to catch back up. Let's get a replay coming towards the Roberts chicane. Ben Brown looking to the inside, went for a move and tagged from behind by Stone. Controversial one, that will likely go to our stewards for a potential post-race penalty.
And just for the replay, I think he was already losing it as he was going through the corner. I think he was already going sideways. And he was already having a moment, and he was just encouraged around to ensure that moment did fully fulfill itself.
I had to avoid the driver Ben Brown was passing, I believe Matt Cleaver. You know, he was going slow on that awkward line, had to avoid them, checked up, and you know, we've seen how loose the rear end was in qualifying when drivers were by themselves, let alone having to check up for slowing drivers in front of them. Ashford and John Lloyd have come to big issues, upside down for Lloyd, and that is going to be a tow to pit lane for them. Things have gone disastrously wrong for the two of them.
How did the world? Oh, no. Oh, that's unfortunate.
Yeah, that is really unfortunate. A spin from the number 7 car of Ashford, just running a little bit too wide through Coppice, clipping the grass, spinning round. And yeah, nowhere for Lloyd to go to avoid it. Very unfortunate how clipping the wheels rolled the car up. But he cut back to this front battle, still the top 8 within a train, and Munro is going for the lead. They're going to try and take the
Oh,
lead out of this. Mason, bit of side-by-side contact, interlocking wheels, but Mason is going to get the move done under braking if they haven't gone too deep. It's all about the exit. Ben Brown trying to see, can they take advantage? Mason compromised through, is going to defend, but not defend enough. Ben Brown looking to the inside into T1 as Matt Cleaver takes the fastest lap of the race now, just behind, and it's from first to third for this Mason in a few corners, and Matt Cleaver now is going to be the next one to try and pass our pole sitter, who's done well to hold on for nearly 7 minutes, but looks like it's starting to unravel. They run wide following Ben Brown, but running a little bit wider. It's all concertinaing up here as they come to McLean's dive to the inside for Mason's trying to reclaim P2. Ben Brown doesn't fight it on the inside and has to defend from Matt Cleaver, taking the inside line to Coppice. Cleaver now being compromised. Stone will be trying to get in front as Sean McGardle has an issue in the background and is dropping positions out of the top 10. For Sean McGarl out of the top 15 in the gravel out on the exit of McLean's.
So is Ashford as well. That's the old hairpin for Ashford. That's later on in the lap, or earlier on the lap, shall I say. But both cars having issues. Let's see what happened to Troy. He was already off at this point. Let's see how he actually got there. That's just... Oh, what a snap-on curb. That's not going to help his cause in the slightest.
Yeah, right. These cars snapping so quickly. Problem for Ben Brown, dropping down the order, and that's heavy into the wall at the Craner curves. How he's found the wall there. It's towed to pit lane. That's very disappointing for him.
He's had enough already.
Yeah, there's another car spinning off in the background. They've had contact coming out of Redgate, it seems, and that was a big impact. Side by side, just clips the rear end, and both cars tangled together, trying to make out which car that is. But yeah, and the damage, this suspension damage for Ben Brown, spinning them off into the wall.
Lewis Mason.
Missing our pole sitter. Another disappointment for them, having done pretty well to hold on to the lead for the opening 6 minutes. Was starting to lose positions, but wasn't going too south. But yeah, it has gone very south for them now. There they are coming into pit lane.
Let's see what actually happened to Benny. I think he was just rejoining and the car unsettled. Went off.
Yeah, the car just snapped with the suspension damage. Like just snap, and can't get back into a straight line. And bang into the wall, taking off both front suspension, the front nose cone, going no further. This Mason able to limp round to pit lane, will be able to use that quick repair, but the damage is done really at this point of the race. A little bit of a slide there for current leader Luca Munro, who finished P11 last race, started thus P5 this race. So up 4 positions, but now starting to come under pressure from second place finisher Stone, who's had a great run, managed to stay out of trouble, which has befallen Aidan Carter and race winner Jack Dan. So far, the 2 podium sitters, new fastest lap of the race to the inside. It's a clean move to take a lead. Well, I say fastest lap, Aidan Carter takes that as they're trying to get past Reiner for P8. Doesn't seem like they're going to get it done this time, or maybe do they have the exit coming out of Reggae? It's to the right hand side.
Over under.
They'll have to get the move done at the old hairpin. It's the long way around. Current curves are just far enough alongside, and they will get the move done. Very wide for Mac Barnes, just in front. He's going to drop back as Ortegrin is trying to put pressure on Ash Hill for P5. Still lots of battles within the top, throughout the top 20.
Staples had a massive issues dropping down positions and dropping like an anvil in the ocean. That's because he's sideways at turn 1. What in the world happened to you, good sir?
I think that's rear right suspension damage. It didn't quite look right from that angle. So I wonder if there's been contact. C1.
No,
Yeah,
just lost it by
loses rear end,
himself.
trying to not run into the oNiD delivery, kind of avoiding the incident that Ben Brown and Lewis Mason had not too long ago. But unfortunately,
Mm.
in trying to avoid that contact, lost the rear end.
Yeah, kind of repeat. What's happened to Monroe? Monroe's gone off circuit at the old hairpin. Hasn't exactly been dropped by Stone here, which is interesting to see. I'm not entirely sure if there's an issue for Stone at all, but I'm making the move past. To be fair, these are midfield fighters that they do have genuine pace, but Stone getting the lead, but not really. Some would expect him to pretty much drop these guys at this point, but Monroe making sure he's not having it all his way.
Yeah, for context, Monroe qualified 18th, 8 tenths slower than Stone, but the slipstream must be quite powerful. 2 tenths quicker this lap for Monroe than later
Ooh.
Stone, and Carter into the pit lane. This will either be for penalty points, which I assume it is, or driving through. No stop in the box. Has been a little bit naughty this race, has Aidan Carter. Well, a couple of moments of contact, couple of off tracks, and that is the consequence. Down to 14th
Did he
for
stop?
our podium sitter from race 1.
Did he stop though? No, he didn't. He didn't stop. It's a drive-through. Oh dear. Yep, that's instant points for you. You'll get a finger wagging if you get too many of them. And eventually, let's have a look, see if we can see the instant points.
Of course, the reverse grid producing a little bit more carnage than last race, and those instant points coming into play more. We'll see if we can get them up as Zane Carter trying to chase down Sean McArdle for 13th place in their sort of second comeback of the race already. And Stone now maybe starting to stretch their legs. Personal best lap opening up to a 7/10 of a second lead. And we can now see those incident points. Only drivers at the moment in double figures is Mac Barnes. But license points resetting once a drive-through is taken?
No, I don't think so. Maybe he got a slowdown of a couple of track and didn't serve it in time. That's the only other thing that it could possibly be. Gets a warning from iRacing itself, gets told to give back some time, and you can do it. You have 30 seconds to... Oh, Maiden. You have like 30 seconds to give back time gained as deemed by the iRacing simulator, but potentially not giving back that time if it was that. I can't see any other reasons to why it would be giving him a drive-through.
So past Sean McArdle around the outside of Redgate earlier this lap. Now he has just under 4 seconds to try and catch up to Grant Lloyd in 12th, as Charlie Morgan in one of the other oNiD deliveries, trying to chase down Matt High for P9, and Stone. Oliver Stone at the front of the field is stretching their legs now, 1.5 and ever increasing. Gap up front as Ben Holmes has had issues coming out of Coppice. And dropping down the order, let's get a replay of this. Running too wide, just clips the grass, and it spins the car around into the gravel.
They do have downforce, but when you put it on the grass, it doesn't like you. It will chuck you off each and every way possible.
Yeah, especially when you're putting the loaded tyre, the left-hand side tyres onto the grass, as in that case they were. That will certainly help as we see Ashhill trying to put the pressure on Ordegren, looking to the outside of the chicane. This is a very brave move. Backs over in the end. We've seen a couple of incidents already this race from people trying to run side by side through there. And Ashhill not wanting to be another victim, though that has give Barnes a run here towards Redgate. Will they try and send it around the outside? Down the inside, sorry, they have a look. They get wobbly on the curbs. Luckily not running into Ashhill, but will not get that place and maybe start to bring Rainer into a possible move for P7.
We'll just have a look back down the field at Aaron Wynn. having an off in turn 1. I think that was a car also doing the same thing. All round and round they go. I believe that was also Reese Tarrant having the same issue as well, as we see him also electing to go on grass and put the throttle down, try and get it back on and have a little half spin. Keeps it out of the wall. Very lucky that car didn't just twitch back to left on the grass and send him into and to make acquaintance with the tyre barrier.
Yeah, this slightly older version of Donnington with like the concrete patches, as we see a car spun. That's Jared Page, lap down in 22nd, waiting for a moment to rejoin safely, which they do so now.
And I believe Ben Brown's now going to be right in the set. Oh, he goes to the pits. So damage potentially. We'll use a quick repair and get that all sorted as soon as possible. He is finding his pit box and that'll be a quick repair.
Not too long to go in this race now, just under 8 minutes now. So time is running out for people that might want to make moves, such as Aidan Carter, such as Jack Dan, who's trying to close up on this pair. They're fighting over P2. Munro trying to hold on. That Gapstone has pulled out 4 seconds now, but I don't think Munro's too worried about that. They're worried about trying to hold on to P2 from Matt Cleaver here, looking to the outside of the chicane. But like what we seen not too long ago, backing out, trying to get the better exit. You see the different line, but scrubbing a bit too much speed off through the left-hander, and they won't have the momentum towards Redgate. There's still a good few laps for them. Ian Carden now getting in front of Grant Lloyd for P12. Their next target for them to chase down is Tempera for P11, 4.5 seconds to close in on. And we see, well, having first of all to defend from Lloyd, who's trying to come back at Carter, but Carter holds the attack off through the first turn. Dan has made a mistake here and opened up an opportunity for Ordegren to try and come for P4 to the inside of McLean's. Ordegren will get the move done. Runs wide though on the exit. Is Jack Dan have enough momentum to come back? No, fell too far back and will have to make an overtake for P4 a little bit later. But hampering any thought they had of chasing down P3. But will they have to be like? Will they have to continue to look in their mirrors? Ash Hill starting to put pressure now on Jack Dan, who seems to be struggling. Maybe a little bit of damage. Maybe the tyres being damaged from the earlier spin with the slipstream towards T1. Ash Hill looking to the inside, committing to the move. Dan can't fight it off, falling down now to P6. Our race 1 winner struggling here in our sprint race.
P2 and P3 fighting away. Cleaver try and look for a way past around the old hairpin. Inside become the outside on the switchback. It will still be outside line going up through Starkey's corner up to McLean's, and inside line well held. That's move done. Jack Dan also loses position to Mike Rayner for 7th. Worse and worse and worse for Jack Dan, and he'll be kicking himself at this race result. Not what he expected, I'm sure, in the slightest.
Though still scoring points is Jack Dan. Could be worse, could be Carter and P12, could be one of the people that find themselves outside of the points entirely, like Ben Brown and Lewis Mason, who came together. 5 minutes left in the race. Bit of a slow that for Matt Cleaver and Munro. That's allowed the cars behind to close up a little bit. Only 2 seconds is that gap, and Munro is still on the tail of Matt Cleaver. This battle could kick off again a little bit, coming up to a lapped car as well that they will need to pass.
They will, and they look to, yep, they get reasonably out of the way there, and that's fair enough. I think that was Philip Staples moving out of the way, car 91, and it allows these two to keep on fighting. Autogren not closing enough. Well, he needs to close a little more quicker to close that 2-second gap, as I think Ben Holmes had an issue and just came off track and has come back on track. Let's have a look. In the final chicane, lots of sausage curb off the circuit, and survives to drive for at least another lap.
we'll be hoping to make it to the end of the race, which isn't too far away. 4 minutes now. Matt High trying to get past Jack Dan for P7. Dan's going to try and come back on the exit. Going to be a drag race now towards Red Gate. Just noticed on the right-hand side as we look at it, a bit of damage on the front wing for Jack Dan. That's probably what's hampering them here. Matt High getting the move done on the inside, up to P7. Next person to catch up to Dan is Barnes, 1.3 seconds back. I think with coming to the end of this race, a bit of a lock up there and wide of the apex for Jack Dan, showing their struggles. Will they hold into the top 10 or will they fall out? Time is ticking and is close to running out. There's still a few laps for the positions to change.
Absolutely. Ashford down in P24 has had an incident and fits into turn 1. That full Union Jack delivery car has a spin into Redgate and rejoins plenty of space to rejoin in a safe manner. As Mac Barnes now, as you said, closing on Jack. Jack must have an issue here, surely. He's not losing this time out of free wheel. The car must have something wrong with it. I'm going to see if we can jump on board, see anything obvious. His steering looks relatively straight. I do wonder if there's some damage on that car. These cars are sensitive to damage, being open wheelers on the iRacing damage model. Any slight touches can cause havoc with suspension, and Mac Barnes is actually closed up big time.
Yeah, that front wing damage that we pointed out earlier certainly having a big effect. I wonder if there must be more damage that we can't see as well. Maybe one of the wheels is slightly knocked out of alignment. That isn't necessarily making the car crab, but is just making it unstable in the corner side. Look at the straight line speed difference. Barnes down the inside, gets the move done easily. I think this is mainly aero damage, a loss of downforce, and both of them pulling into the pit lane.
Oh, that's not drive-throughs. That's actually stopping for... He's up on his jacks. It's not a quick repair. It's going to be a proper stop for Jack Dan, and if that was a quick repair, he's also changed tyres as well. And Mac Barnes seemingly getting out ahead of him, probably using a quick repair, not changing the tyres. So Jack Dan drops down to 14th, sadly. If it was a reverse grid race, he would be in right on the front row. Sadly, it is the last race of the evening, so he'll just be potentially just licking his wounds here and maybe just going for fastest lap for bragging rights.
John Lloyd getting past Ashford for 24th, as Munro still on the back of Cleaver, still putting the pressure on as Stone sets a new fastest lap of the race, getting into the sub-65s, and this will be the final lap of the race that the drivers are coming on to. White flag waving in the background into Redgate. Munro has been able to follow Cleaver here, but doesn't seem to be putting too much pressure on. Has the pace to follow, but not the pace to maybe make an overtake, as we see Tempera getting past Charlie Morgan here, getting a good run out of the chicane and easily passing with straight line speed. Quite per exit for Morgan, maybe getting a slow down on the exit, but has dropped them to P9. Jack Dan into the pits once more, coming on to the final lap.
Bad to worse. That's going to suck for him. But we'll stick with Oliver Stone here. He's going to come through the final chicane. It will be the checkered flag for the second race this evening. Stone takes the win. Second place is all up still for grabs, actually. Monroe not too far behind Cleaver. Might get a good run out in the final chicane. It's not going to be enough. Cleaver P2, Monroe P3, and Ortgren 4th. Hill 5th. High not too far behind in 7th, with potentially fighting with Rayner there for 6th. Carter, however, not too far behind. He's got to see a checker flag, not going to be enough. There is one more battle happening on Cirque. A bit further down the grid, we'll see Bottleston 19th and downwards. We'll see the checker flag a lap down, as all those cars being a lap down 19th downwards. We'll see and see the checkered flag separately from these race leaders. They are on the same lap, down to P18. Jack Dan's remaining on the lead lap just about. And there's going to be, a final corner battle. Sophie tries to get the other under the chicane. Terrence says, no you don't, I'm parking it on the apex. And that is race over for Arwen. And Holmes sees check flag as well. Jack Dan. Oh, Jack, what could have been?
A lot of people will be saying what could have been. A lot of people, yeah, leaving a lot of potential on the table, whether it was their own fault or whether it was just unfortunate circumstance out of their control. Yeah, difficult race for some, but for others, they took full advantage of it. But yeah, good racing throughout the race. Quite manic. Oh boy, how manic is it going to be next week at Brands Indy?
I don't know. Chris had a slowdown, says Tropical Pigeon. R.I.P. That's going to do it. And I think, who's that? Is that Cardin Donuts on the start of finish straight here in the world? That is Luca Monroe, P3. In giving it some donuts. Not making donuts of the edible kind, but losing a bit of rubber from those tyres. And don't blame him. Why the hell not?
Very well executed donuts, having qualified 18th to finish on the podium, even with others' issues. We've seen how many mistakes were made in qualifying. You've got to make sure you don't make those mistakes in the race. Keep it clean, avoid the incidents. They did just that to finish on the podium. Good race from them. But yeah, good race for all the drivers, and maybe you can get the final results here.
Well, I'm trying to, but it's not letting me. It's saying results are available, but it's saying it's not letting me put it up on the screen, annoyingly. I can, however, tell you, I'll go through the race results manually. Oliver Stone takes the win from Matt Cleaver, Luca Monroe 3rd, Autogren 4th, Hill 5th, Rayner 6th, Matt High 7th, Tampere 8th, Morgan 9th, Aidan Carter in 10th, Grant Lloyd 11th, McCardle 12th, Mac Barnes 30th, Kozak 14th, Taryn 50th, Arwen 60th, Holmes 17th, 80th is Jack Dan, 90th is Ralph Bottleson, first your lapped cars to see the checkered flag, and 20th Alex Turner, Staples 21st, Ben Brown 22nd, Tomlinson 23rd, 24th John Lloyd, 25th Richard Ashford, Collins 26th, Jarrett Page 27th, I do believe, sadly, Mason and Williams 28th, 29th classified finishers, but sadly were unable to see the checkered flag as a dump for both of those drivers. Yes, it's not let me bring up the final grid on the overlay. Very random. But that was your finishing order for that second race this evening here at Donnington Park for the Sim Hound British oNiD4 series. Oh, that was fun.
That was very fun. The best part is, we have 7 more weeks of it coming up, starting with, as we've said, Brands Indy next week. Short wee manic circuit that I'm sure will provide even more chaos. Then going through the rest of our calendar, we have Snetterton for round 3, that on the 200 layout, so without that pesky infield section. Quite a few straights, quite a more simple circuit, should see a lot of slipstreaming and some more great racing. Then for round 4, we have Thruxton, another high-speed circuit. They'll have a lot of slipstream. Then we head for the second half of the season, starts at Oulton Park Island layout, so taking the hairpin that you may see in the BTCC. So short circuit, a little more technical of a track, but should again provide some great racing. And we head to Silverstone National, another short circuit, nice and simple. Then we go back to Brands Hatch for around the GP layout this time, something a little more full, a little longer. And then, speaking of long, we head to the wonderful track, not on the British island, but in Belgium. It is the Circuit de Spa-Francorchamps. Brilliant place to end the season. Oh boy, what a season we have coming up.
I cannot wait. British circuit racing at its finest, and then got to throw in Spa. Why not? They do see these cars in real life, do see a European circuit on the calendar, so yeah, finale at Spa-Francorchamps. Why the hell not? Folks, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much for your viewership. Thanks for everyone racing. It's been a pleasure to bring you this season 3 first round of iRacing Championship here for the Sim Hound British oNiD4 series. Next week, as we said, it's off to Donnington Park Island. It will be an absolute ball of a race. Please do tune in and follow the action, as myself and Scotty will be bringing you all the action here on oNiD Twitch. Until then, folks, we'll be back live again on Sunday night for the LMU GT3 Championship. And
The 100 series.
The 100 series, indeed. Looking forward to that, and that will be the end of week 1. Time flies when you're having fun, folks. Stay tuned, take care, have a wonderful rest of your week, and we'll see you all very, very soon.
Bye bye.